to the Spooky Chris podcast. My name is Chris Ringler. I'm an author, filmmaker, general ne'er-do-well living in Michigan. And this is my wee little podcast. I hope you enjoy. You can find out more about me and my podcast and my writing and everything else at spookychris.com. I have put out about 20 books. so if you ever listen to one of these and you're like, boy, he's got a lot to say, well then, doggone it, there's a lot more out there. Gosh, a lot of books. But I'll talk about that at the end. So with the time of year that it is, pardon me, I thought I would talk about something I've talked about in blog form before. But there's something different about the confessional nature of some of these types of podcasts, where it's not, there's a weird filter between hand to brain, and is obviously a filter between brain and mouth, but it's not the same. But we're at the 19th year since my family had a house fire around the holidays, so I thought I would talk about that for a few minutes. It's strange just because I have, because the world is the way the world is, and I have just some things going on. I didn't focus on the day as much as I used to, and maybe that's just part of getting old too. Is dates don't always have the same meanings, but I think in this category, in this tangled little mess the world is in, I think there's just other stuff going on, and I wasn't focused on it as much. So December 17th, 2002, I was working at a vitamin stop. It was owned by a family that owned a health food store. They'd owned a few. It's like, I think they had 3 at one point. They were a staple of the area. They're still around. The health food store is still around. The vitamin stores saw their last day around 2005, I think. They closed up shop. But this was, at that point, they were just trying to focus kind of on the GNC type of market, where it was folks that weren't necessarily looking for healthier foods or the whole experience that they offered at their other places. This was more, you wanted vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin D, you wanted a multivitamin, you wanted something, you wanted creatine because you wanted to work out and get big, and it was that kind of stuff. It was a more stripped down place. It was funny, and it's strange that I ended up working there, and I ended up working there for 5 years because I don't look like someone that would know about vitamins, and I generally don't, other than what I picked up there over the years. I don't look like someone who's very health conscious, and that would be terribly accurate. I'm not. It's just not my bag. But, we find ourselves in the jobs that we have. It's always interesting. I had an interview recently. It's always funny because, you get these, why do you want this job? And I mean, anybody that convinces themselves it's not for better pay or a better position than they have, you're just a dope. Like, it's all there is to it. You're just a dope. So it's weird. It's a weird question to ask. Like, I get it in that you want somebody for the right reason, and that's great. That's lovely. If we were only all so lucky as to have no worries about money, and we could just take the jobs that meant the most to us, that would be grand. But that's not the way the world works. At least not for most of us. So what you have is, you just kind of take the jobs that you can get. And this was, again, I was shocked that I got the job. And it was doubly funny because they hired someone who became a friend And he loved to bring up like that they hired me over him. He kept trying though, and he got the job eventually. But it's just it was just super funny that he was never quite got over that little bitterness that I got the job and he didn't. But it was a fine job. It was basically running a register, doing stock. I did orders from time to time and ended up creating a newsletter for him and blah blah blah. And it was a fine job. It became a drag when the manager left and I was stuck working with the owner's son because he was just what you would expect an owner's son to be like. Maybe a little better, but not a lot better. It's not a fun time. But I was working there when the manager that hired me is still working there, and she and I were working. It was I would say it must have been a Tuesday because we were working but I don't know. I'd have to look back because we were working together for a little bit. I'd open up, and she'd be there for part of the day, and then she'd jump over to our other store for part of the day. And I always enjoyed hanging out with her or the owner just because they were fun to talk to. Me and the owner would talk hours and hours and hours about Flint, and just kind of what we hoped to see with Flint and just stuff we'd heard. And it was cool because he was an old school Flint guy. Like I say, his family owned property downtown. They had a store downtown that it's now the building is now a restaurant and a community oriented business or nonprofit. So, which is interesting. But I was working with the woman who hired me at the time, and we got a call, and it was a call from my sister for me, and I never got calls there. This is again 2002. I did not have a cell phone. I did not get a cell phone until I moved downtown Flint. I was living in a small city called Mount Morris then. It was the first place I moved. It was funny because I decided on a Wednesday I was moving out. I looked at one apartment in Mount Morris, I think, I don't know, within a day or two of that Wednesday, and I moved that Sunday. So it was weird, super weird. So that was the first apartment I ever had. So I did not need a cell phone at the time. When I moved to downtown Flint, I got one, and I've had a cell phone ever since. So since about 2005, which is again strange. But I was, like I said, I didn't really get calls. I mean, I talked on the phone from time to time, with whomever, but it wasn't a regular thing. It was weird because it was back in the day. That would be could be a bad habit some employees could get into where they just take personal calls at work all the time, depending on how if it was a smaller place, and that's a bad look. And that's just not something you want to have your manager kind of have to talk to you about. So I got the call, and it was a call from my sister, and she had, and my memory's not great to begin with, so let's just be honest there. But I remember her saying there were ambulances out in front of the house, and I think fire trucks. And I remember cursing. We had one customer, and I remember saying the F word really loud. I mean, it's just I don't know. I think I just didn't know what to say. Like I got a phone, and she must have told me that there was a house fire because I said F. My parents' house is on fire. So I left immediately and rushed home, rushed to their home. It's weird because I grew up there. I was there for 27 years, so it's always going to be my home. But I think it's their home was their home. So rushed there. As soon as I got down to the street, like they wouldn't let you. They had it blocked about 150 feet into the road. We lived down like a subdivision on a lake. It was an old subdivision. My grandfather and grandmother moved there, and there's barely anybody there. And they had they had their house. And I don't know if they bought it or built it. They must have built it. But and my mom and dad bought the house from them and then added on in '81, and it was cool. Like I had the crazy idyllic kind of American youth. I lived across the street from a big open field, so we could go and run around and play in the field all the time. I'd walk our dog Troubles there in the winter and stuff, and just run her around. She was kind of like a kite because she was on about a 30-foot rope. So she'd run way out, run, and then run way back and jump on me, and then run way out, run, jump back, run back and jump on me. So I had a field across the street, down the street I lived. There was one main street, and then a couple, a handful of branching, like smaller streets. And on the street I lived, there was a big woods. I lived on a lake, big woods, and then at the end of at the other end, the very, very end of the road, there was another bigger woods. And there was fields around us, so we lived kind of out in the country, and it was cool. It was cool, like lots of exploring, lots of going through the woods, and lots of swimming, and it was an idyllic childhood. For those years, it was really cool. But about 150 feet in, they had everybody stopped, and there was police there, and they wouldn't let anyone through. And I was spazzing out. I'm not great under pressure. I'll tell you, that's my house. That's my house, and I had to park my car and run about 3 football field lengths. No, let's see, probably two, about 600 feet. I mean, because it was quite a ways down to my parents' house from where I parked. Lots of people crowded around down back there, and then you get closer and closer, and you see the fire trucks, and you see smoke, and it's just a horrifying sight. You smell the plastic. Being in Flint, we are very well accustomed to the scent of burning buildings, and not to say that it's like a constant thing per se, but like we're in a city. There's been lots of fires, and you know. It's weird that you'll know the different smells of what, like you smell wood and stuff, and with a little plastic, it's kind of a house. If it's mostly plastic, it's probably like a warehousey kind of thing. It's weird. But yeah, you could smell that. But yeah, it's the sight of the smoke coming up, and they have 2 big kind of pine trees that are right at the end of the property, like closest to the road, so you can't really, it obscures the house. I get closer, and there's all these fire trucks. With no ambulances I can think of. Fire trucks. And I run up there, and my sister and mom are kind of huddled together. And the garage is gone. Part of where our laundry room like that had caught fire. Like it was crazy. And I was like, "Where's Dad?" And Mom was like, "He's in, he's up there. He's in the house." I said, "I'll get him." So I ran down there, all these fire people, emergency workers and stuff. And I'm going through, and the house fire is out, and Dad is in the house, looking around, and I just shell shocked. There's a lot of different reasons. I mean, it's obviously it's your memories. It's the oh my god, the cost of everything, because they paid for the addition themselves and everything, over time and all that, and lots of work put into it, and it's where you live, it's your family. And he was just shell shocked, and just seeing it and everything. There's smoke still everywhere, and it's everything says smoldering. Smoke damage everywhere, water damage. We're ushered out of there, because it's still smoldering and smoking. There's the chance that it could the fire could start, get going again. So to be safe, and you've got to get everybody out there and make sure all the smoke's dead, and for safety reasons. Makes sense. Well, we had back then we had 2 cats and a dog, and all of them were scared to death. they got the dog, troubles out of there. The cats disappeared, so we had no idea. When it was calmed down again, like, so we just kind of all stood there, and I was trying to get information. My dad had been testing Christmas lights to put out. I was putting that stuff up, and I lived in Mount Morris at that point. I moved in 2001, I think, or 2000, 2001, maybe 2001. I moved to Mount Morris. I lived in Mount Morris by then. I was in my apartment. But Dad had been getting things ready to put Christmas lights up, and was in the middle of that, and had plugged in an extension cord, and had gone inside. And in that time, it had sparked, lit on fire, caught the garage on fire. Dad had run out there, jumped in his car, and backed it up as the hood's on fire, and got Mom's car a little ways, like away from the garage, so they wouldn't burn. That's my dad. So it was a wiring short in the extension cord while he was testing Christmas lights. Basically a week from Christmas. So we didn't know where the cats were. So once we could get back in there, I went in and I went all over looking for them, and could not find them. So we didn't know what happened. We didn't know what was going on. I'm trying to think. Oh no, I guess. Well, no, and I apologize. I think we just had the one cat then. We had two cats, Meow Meow and Dingling, and I think Meow Meow had died. Meow Meow lived a long, long life. I think Meow Meow had died by then. So I apologize. So it was just the one cat. It was Dingling. It was a big, fluffy, sweet brown cat. My sister adored, and we all adored. It was the sweetest cat. It would follow my dad around. Both of our cats have been street cats, basically, that they just kind of came in the house. So yeah, it was just Dingling then, and she was nowhere to be seen, and we had no idea what happened to her. We assumed she ran away, but we didn't know. So there's a point where you just, nothing more you can do. So they ended up getting checked into a residence inn for a few days, just to kind of get their bearings straight and just to kind of collect themselves. They ended up living with my dad's sister and brother-in-law for a short time, and then got rented a house for a while. They were out of their house for about a year, give or take, as it was being rebuilt. And I remember going back, and me going back and getting things out of the attic, and trying to get anything I could out of there, and packed away, just before people started coming in and demoing stuff and redoing stuff, and because they basically the whole edition they redid. Otherwise it'd all been lost. With the fire damage and everything, and I still have the pictures from it. I don't know if I could find them to post with this, but yeah, it's crazy to see. It's weird seeing then and now. When I was a kid, because you have all these memories from when you were a kid, and I go into their house now, my dad's house now, and it's still home, but it's a different place, because there's all the things I remember are different. It's gone. It's my room is gone, like in actuality, because they reconfigured the downstairs and just changed so much. But just seeing everything just burned, and like the scorch marks and everything, the water damage, it was just crazy. So in that week leading up to Christmas, they were staying in the Residence Inn, and my sister had put out notices, and for the cat in the neighborhood, in the hopes that the cat would turn up. I drove around out there. She drove around every day. She would go and stand or, sit on their stoop and just wait every day for that cat to show up. And Dingling just didn't. And day gave way to day, and they just started kind of getting about the business of trying to put your life together after something like this. It wasn't catastrophic, like it's crazy, like the Christmas presents weren't ruined, like their clothes and stuff weren't destroyed. So it wasn't catastrophic like a lot of folks have. But it was bad and it was traumatic and all that, and it was a bad fire. So yeah, like every day, we're getting closer to Christmas, and I decide, hey, we're doing Christmas at the apartment. That's how it's gonna go. So we make the plan, and I just kind of, like I say, I put my foot down. It's like, this is what we're doing. We're having Christmas at the apartment. So I put my little tree up and got it all kind of festive and everything. And day gives way to day, and we're just kind of trying to get through things. I remember that night, the night of the fire, a friend of mine had another friend who had rented the theater out to show the extended DVD of Fellowship of the Ring, and then at midnight they were gonna show the Two Towers, and I was invited, and at the last minute, like, went smelling like smoke. I'd kind of done everything with the people I needed to do stuff with back at then, and just went, and I was about halfway through Fellowship, and it helped. Just kind of getting my mind off of it for a few hours, because it was a strange, it's a strange time. Like, it permanently messed our dog up in that, like, she was different after the fire. She had to stay in a kennel just while they were getting their stuff straightened in the few weeks before they rented a house. And it changed her. Like, she was meaner. Like, it was a different dog. It changed her personality. And it changed, it changed everybody in different ways. This is the stuff that you don't think about at the time. So Christmas is getting closer and closer, and this is, I guess, as you found out, kind of my Christmas story for you. And Christmas Eve comes, and there's still no cat, and we still don't know what's going on, and they're still trying to deal with things. And my sister goes out, like, she'd gotten calls. Oh gosh, yeah, I found your cat. We have your cat here. And so she'd run out into a neighbor's house, and it wasn't her cat. And people thought they saw her, and just it wasn't happening. So we just didn't, we thought she was probably lost for good. And then Christmas Eve comes, and right before she was gonna go with, like, our family back then would do like a family Christmas thing. Like, my dad's side of the family, they'd get together, and the families get together, and we'd just kind of hang out. One of those weird traditions that I miss it in a way. I don't necessarily like a lot of the folks as much as I did when I was younger, but it's something you miss. And before, while they were getting ready to go to that, my sister went out to the house, just because it was a habit. That's just what she did, and went to go look for the cat. And what do you know? Is Dingling is sitting on the, sitting in the middle of the walkway, just waiting, just as if nothing had happened, nothing had changed, just no idea where she went, no idea where she was, if she was hiding kind of in the house somewhere. That'd be my guess, is like, and she finally just came out. But yeah, my sister just pulled up, and there she was, sitting on the sidewalk. just waiting for her. And it really, I mean, it's one of those things. It's from such a horrible thing, like that little small thing that means so much, um, helped kind of really make it one of the best Christmases we ever had, because we were so happy to be together and that the cat had been found, our dog was safe, everyone was safe. Like, they had lost a lot, in a way, collectively, we all had. But we were all there and we were all okay. And sometimes that's what you hope for. Sometimes that's the best you can get. Um, I'm always going to be a kid at heart. I love presents. I love the giving. I love the getting. Um, I love the anticipation. I love the music. I love this whole season, which is interesting for an atheist to be huge into Christmas. But hey, it is what it is. That's what I grew up with. You know, with a daughter now, we're trying. I'm trying, like we both are. My wife and I both are trying to get her into the holidays and Christmas and all that. And it's weird because you're starting the traditions that either make some kind of an impact, either mean something and they continue them, or they get old enough to just kind of discard them as something that's not theirs. And either way is fine. It's one of those things that people have to kind of find their own way. But we all have make big plans for the new year, and we put so much pressure on things. But sometimes, especially now more than ever, with COVID, and it's funny because COVID is the blanket we've put over everything in the last couple of years, but the caustic politics, the absolute evil, of some of our politicians and their followers, and some of the vileness of our society has really come out in these last couple of years. And we like to put the blanket of COVID over it and just cover, COVID, these last 2 years, boy, it's COVID. No, like, COVID just kept us away from one another while we were all freaking out, collectively and individually. So maybe COVID's the timeout we needed and just refused to accept. It's hard to say. But in these times, with so many folks losing people they love, and just with all of us kind of struggling, sometimes it's those small things. It's the small little miracles that aren't necessarily religious in nature. They're just something that you didn't expect to happen. Something that seems impossible. Something you never would have guessed. Those surprises. Those are the things, the bright lights that pull us through the darkness. And boy, there's been a lot of darkness in these last couple of years. And we've all needed the points of light we could get. Those little candles that waver and try to hang on so we can find our way forward. And more than anything, that's what this time of year can be. I think that's what can be so valuable is the opportunity to reconnect with people, to touch base with them, to reach out and say, hey, I'm still thinking of you, or, you're always on my mind, or how are you, or anything. People from your present, sometimes people from your past, just ways to connect with folks, to remind yourself that you're still a part of the world and that you exist and that you matter. We get lost in the weeds a lot and forget, just that we're here. We're rushing through things so much, and I know I am. I'm rushing towards the end fast. And we forget the moments. And we got kind of the blessing of one of those kind of moments the other day. We took the kiddo to see some lights at a historical attraction around here, where it's just a drive-through light show. And we took her, and she just was just excited as heck. She loved it, and that like lit us up. Because that's what you hope. We took her to see Santa Claus, and she wasn't sure what to make of him, but it went well, and it was fun, and it was one of those cool memories. Like, you hate to take your kid to something where they get upset and cry and all that, but it went well. And it's these small little moments that build to bigger ones, that make everything worthwhile. Um, like I would love to be a bestseller as an author, but that's just not in the cards. But it's cool when I can sell books, and because it means that someone's taking a chance on me and my fiction. And those, again, it's those little lights that keep you moving forward, and that keep you chugging. And I hope your whatever holidays, be it all, many, or none, whatever you tradition you follow, I hope that this end of the year finds you healthy and well, and finding your own lights, um, and the things that remind you that you are here, you are important, and you are valuable. Something that I know I tend to forget a lot. And I wish you all the best. Like I said before, I have written a ton of books, everything from creepy kids books to a fantasy trilogy, to one, regular fiction novel that came out this year, and then a whole bunch of horror, from novels to short story collections. You can find out all about them at spookychris.com. If you're hankering for a chill this winter, there's a lot of stuff. And even not from me, there's a lot of authors from Flint, Michigan, that are well worth your effort to find and track down. It's Flint, Michigan authors. Let's Google it. There's a lot of great writers around here, a lot of great artists, but we'll focus on writers for the moment. You take care. I'm probably going to put out more podcasts for the Christmas, but have happy holidays and be very well. And I will talk to you soon.